Welcome, welcome, everybody. It is build day. Today, we are building a keyboard we've built before, actually. We are building the Mode Envoy. Now, the first time I built it, it was a early allocation unit that Mode sent to me. This is a full-on, normal production unit. This is one I actually own, bought with my own money. It's exactly what you would get if you bought yours today. It is in the Mirage colorway, that kind of steely blue on the sticker. I do really like that sticker. I think it's quite clever. Designed, it evokes the keyboard on the sticker. It's pretty cool. This is the Mirage one. We're doing copper accents and copper plate today, which is my first time with a copper plate, so that's exciting. Never done one of those before. And I've got a point of interest today. The early allocation unit I got, it was both my understanding from Mode and my experience that no matter how hard you tighten down the two screws that hold that, there's the screw points, speaking of, that no matter how hard you turn those two screws down, they won't ever compress the mounting blocks and affect the typing feel in any way, which was my experience with my polycarbonate early allocation unit. But I have seen video, specifically Alex Otos build stream, where also on an aluminum unit, he did experience that if you tighten the screws down more, it tightens up. It like squishes the mounting blocks some, it tightens up the whole assembly. So I'm very curious to see about that. I also, because this is my curse, I own two of these. I have a production Mirage here, and I bought a production polycarbonate as well, which will be in a separate video. So interested to see what that's all about, but also just excited to have an Envoy back in my life. I really like this keyboard. The lattice mounts were fun, and this will be a very different sound as well because it's aluminum with copper weights and stuff. The pre-production weights were significantly thinner for a reason I'm not completely sure. The weights in the production units have some real heft to them, especially this copper one I've got here. So speaking of, we're actually going to bolt those in, or screw, I suppose, those in first. Also in that case is a screwdriver and keycap puller that, and switch puller for that matter, that Mode provides. I like using my own tools, but they are in there, which is great. I forget what hex sizes I need. I think a 2 and a 2.5. 1.5, 2.5. All right. I think they include a Phillips for stabilizers, but I use clip-ins. So we just need our hex drivers. A 1.5, yep. And a 2.5. So we got those, that's great. We're gonna flip this bad boy over. I got gray feet for this one. I thought those would match this. Oh god, the rest of the parts. I'm doing this all out of order. We'll screw those on in just a moment. We are using, in a surprise to absolutely nobody, TX stabs. These are TX AP stabilizers, non-long pull. Krytox 205 grade 0 on the plastic interfaces, Krytox XHT BDZ on the wires. Keycaps, you've already seen the thumbnail, so you'll know what I picked, but we'll actually come back to because I've got two choices depending kind of how this starts coming together. But for switches, to continue the copper theme, I got some of the Novel Keys Cream Plus switches, the ones where you can put the little insert in the stem. I got the copper and the titanium inserts. The titanium ones just like fell out of all the stems. Not sure if I have a tolerance issue going on with my batch or something, but the copper ones fit great, and so to continue the copper theme on this board, we're gonna do the copper insert Cream Plus switches. These are lubed and prepped and all that good stuff yet to go with the lovely copper plate that we have. So also excited about that. PCB's mil-maxed just like my pre-production unit, but now it's got the extra row of LEDs and all that good stuff. The LEDs won't do a whole lot here. You can see it around the edges of the plate and PCB in the aluminum case, but yeah, so that's parts. We'll come back to keycaps, like I said. This time I got gray feet. I thought that would go well with kind of the steely blue-gray of the board. We need our little stick-on ones first for these bottom corners. Da-da-da. Nice and centered. I do like that gray against the blue. That's a good match. Big fan of that. I apologize if you hear any fan noise in the background. It is quite warm where I live this week in California. So I do have a fan on in the background, but it's on like the same speed, so hopefully if it's real terrible in editing, editor Ian can get rid of it. Pop a hole in this so I can rip it off. Yeah, this is, like, I'm sure I'm exaggerating. This copper weight almost feels like it weighs as much as my entire pre-production Envoy, which I guess actually may not be that much of an exaggeration, because I had a polycarbonate one, and this is aluminum and copper. So it'll certainly weigh more, but I bet I'm saying that the weight weighs as much as a bit of an exaggeration. And we've got gray feet to match. Now, are these printed anymore? Nope. Okay, so they did switch these to injection mold, which is what I heard. You can't see the little layer lines on them anymore. The pre-production units had very well printed feet, but you could see layer lines. These are clearly an injection molded part. No surprises there, as promised. Boy. Oh, actually probably putting the feet into the weight would be the move. I'm not trying to align 16 little posts all at once. There we go. Yeah, that was easier. That looks nice. I like this combo a lot. Big fan of that. How did I do this before? Oh, probably just like that. Okay. Now I did not sort through my screws here. Those are for the plates, or holding the plate and PCB in. I really doubt they used countersunk for this because these look like flat bottom holes, so we can get all those out of the way. Why am I doing this from arm's distance? I'm betting the countersunk ones also go in the plate if memory serves. Clearly, I'm freewheeling, not using the build guide, so unrestrained. And then how many fasteners is it for the accent? 3. So I'm looking for probably 6 of a type here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Interesting, could just be an extra. Oh, but now you don't look like any of the other screws. Oh, no, it's countersunk. I'm just looking at it from the wrong side. Ah. There's 5 of those, so that's probably daughter board. 7 of these, we need 6 for those. Yep, okay, bet that's it. Onward. I'm kind of going to go through this pretty quickly. I may time-lapse pretty large sections of this build since I've done this before. And while there are changes from the early allocation units, such as like the ribs, you can see in the bottom of the case there's small valleys cut in the bottom so that the hot swap sockets on hot swap boards do not crash into the bottom of the case. We knew those were coming already. Really what I'm interested in today is that screw down thing, because that is unexpected based off my experience with the early allocation unit. And when, because I forget if I said this in the original build video, so forgive me if I'm repeating myself. My original idea, content strategy-wise, for this board was go right over, tighten my fastener in there. There we go. That's why ball end hex tools exist. He says sitting at a workbench with ball end hex tools that he didn't grab for some reason. My original content strategy for the Envoy, in terms of like what was going to be my interesting perspective, was I wanted to see if tension of the mounting screws affected typing feel at all. When I asked about it, I was told, and again, that's what I experienced, that with the early allocation unit, or what I was told is just blanket statement. What I experienced with the early allocation unit is that the screws will bottom out before they compress the mounting blocks. And what my content strategy was going to be is I was going to get a torque driver and try different torques and see how it affected sound and feel to put a little data to the whole thing. And then when it didn't matter, I kind of abandoned that. So now I'm interested to see that, in fact, it does seem to matter how tight you tighten the screws. I guess while we're here, we can put the daughter board in. I've already tested my PCB. Always test your PCB before use. I tested mine before and after mil-maxing it. And we're in good shape. Is this the one where the daughter board goes upside down? Yeah, I love that. That's so clever to get it closer to the desk surface on the back. So there's quite an extreme angle on the back of the Envoy. So they have the daughter board mounted upside down to get the port as close to the desk as possible. I love little details like that. Man, the Envoy really is so easy to build. Love it. And actually, once again, as long as we're here, we'll shove in our mounting blocks. I'm going to go with the lattice ones, especially if the compression is going to be a going concern for me. I do want to use the squishy blocks. The blocks look to be the same to me. Not seeing any changes there in the Varroy lattice. Looks pretty much the same as the ones in my early allo unit. And solid blocks look the same as well, even like the same print lines. They're probably even printed in the same orientation by Carbon 3D. As of recording this on August 15th, 2023, I am 8 subscribers away from 1,000, which is pretty nuts. Still don't know what I'm going to do at 1,000, if anything. But yeah, pretty wild. All that to say, this hobby may have some sticking power that previous ones have not. All that remains to be seen. Okay, cool. We can actually get this out of the way for the moment. Shiny copper plate. Or I guess not terribly shiny. Blasted finish, but very copper. And then my mil-maxed PCB. I muttered to myself in one of my videos, I always forget what does and doesn't make it through editing. I got a PCB from Mode that was only wrapped in this one time, and I reckoned out if this was ESD safe bubble wrap. That's exactly what it is. And in fact, on these custom printed PCB bags, actually it's going to be hard to throw a PCB in there, hang on. There we go. Point 1. Assemble this PCB on grounded anti-static work mat or the red bubble wrap the PCB was wrapped in. Pretty cool. Now it does go on to say to ensure you're electrically grounded and discharge static from your body before touching the PCB. It's hard to do that well. The best systems, you have like a wristband or an ankle strap that's plugged into a grounding plug, and you've got a mat that's got a little metal button on it that has a wire that's connected to the wall, and it's a conductive mat to bleed away ESD. It's really hard to actually do that properly, so just be safe when you're doing it. The fact that they include some anti-static bubble wrap is pretty cool, and will, I imagine, save you in most cases. So just, be mindful and all that. Now, funnily enough, so I have mil-maxed this PCB. The hot swap Envoy PCB does not have the layout I want, specifically split backspace. So I've mil-maxed this one, made it hot swap. If you're not familiar with the mil-max socket, that's what the top side of one looks like. It goes into the same sized hole as a switch leg does. And then on the bottom, there's a little piece that protrudes. That's what you solder down. And inside of that itty bitty little tube, there's some teeth that electrically connect to the switch to the PCB. So you can basically make any PCB hot swap, which is pretty cool. But what I'm realizing right now is there's screw posts for hot swap boards that the solder PCB does not have those standoffs. So It will just be the switches holding everything together, which must have been the same as my early allocation unit. So maybe that's not that shocking. This is why I don't build keyboards this late typically. But anyway, since you have seen me do literally this exact same part before, I'm going to time-lapse through all of this. I'm about to install stabilizers, install switches, test all that, and then I will see you back for putting everything into the chassis. I'm going to leave keycaps off while we tinker with the screws a little bit, just so things are a little more visible. And then once we've found as much as we're interested in finding there, then we'll put some keycaps on. So I will see you on the other side once I have an assembled plate and PCB here. Oh, also, beverage of the video, Coca-Cola, bottled in Mexico. Allegedly uses real cane sugar. That's what the sticker says. I don't know if it's true. See Johnny Harris's video about all that. Okay, that went, as expected, quite quickly. I, of course, got BDZ all over my hands somehow. Okay, if it wasn't such good lubricant. Anyway, so, assembly from here is really just about as easy as it gets. You plug in your daughter board cable, like so. You kind of swoop in the front of the plate here onto its lattice blocks, like so. And then drop the top in. And that's that. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. See you in the next one. No, I'm kidding. We have proto-science to do. Not even really proto-science. That's too generous. Exploration. Heuristic finding. Pick a term. What are those screws for? The plate. Right. Boy, I really should not shoot videos this late in the day. Thank goodness this is a keyboard I've built before. Oh my gosh, it actually compresses the plate. Okay, well. Okay, so now this is going to look dumb, but I'm going to shake this real quick and see if I hear the screws rattling or if they're... Nope, okay. So we are just in contact with the plate now. This is a little tricky because the end of my screwdrivers... Oh, no, dummy. I have hex keys. I was going to say it's going to be a little tricky to count the turns because those end caps spin, so I can't, like, mark them. But we have the incredible technology of hex keys, which make it very clear when they're being turned. So we're going to zoom in the top cam here, like so. And, okay, so we're pointing about here. So we got one full revolution, turn, 1.5, or thereabout. Back off. Yeah, the screw immediately comes loose, so I think that's pretty good. You know, we got a little bit of play there, but approximating to like the accuracy of a quarter turn, about a turn and a half on these. Now, I think these are M3 screws. We're going to check that with my screw size checker here. Metric. 3. Yep. Okay. So, an M3 screw has a thread pitch of 0.5 millimeter. So that means you could compress this thing as much as 1.5 millimeters. No. 0.5 millimeter pitch, turn and a half, 0.75 millimeters just by turning the screw. You could pre-compress this. That feels about right. Okay. Which is interesting. What we're going to do next is we're going to measure the thickness of one of these mounting blocks and see how much of our potential travel that's taking up. Go. All right, so these lattice blocks are 3 point, trying to get that show on camera. Come on, buddy. There you go. 3.86 millimeters-ish. Yeah, like nominally 3.8 millimeters. So 0.75 millimeters of travel being eaten up. That's like a quarter of the total thickness of like the interface of the lattice block. The top and bottom surfaces are non-compressible, so let's call that another millimeter or so probably. Why am I guessing? I take this apart. This is what I do. I was gonna reckon, I bet we're taking up about a third of our possible travel by tightening those screws all the way down. This is an interesting change from my unit. I'll be interested to see if it persists with my polycarbonate one. I have no reason to believe it won't, because why would they be horribly different? Man, the copper plate being just a little bit heavier makes it kind of tricky to grab this by the stems. That's funny. First of all, I guess let's see if these are also nominally 3.8. Yeah, 3.7, they're about. And then these top and bottom surfaces, let me find a good access to those. Little over 0.5 millimeter actually per side. So let's see, we got. It's so easy to compress these. Let's see, I want a bigger sample size now. Let's see. Oh no, 3.8. This one got a little mushed. I think I may have inserted it a little bit incorrectly. Although I don't know how I would have done it that mushed it like that a little bit. That's strange, but it wasn't like that when I put it in, so I must have done that somehow. So about 3.8 as well. So we've got, I'm just doing this off screen here, 3.8 millimeters total distance. About 1.2 of that is uncompressible space. That leaves us with like 2.6 millimeters of compressible space. Now I'm going to smush this down all the way because as the Varroy lattice collapses, it'll also become more or less non-compressible. And that's about 2 point. I mean, that's more than typing force would be. 2.4-ish. So we go from 3.8, 2.4, so that's 1.4 millimeters. $3.8. 2.8. Yeah, so 1.4. So our 2.6 number, let's try 1.4 millimeters. From that. I think I'm gonna need to draw this, actually. What an exciting video. Let me grab a piece of paper. Okay, grabbed a couple pieces. So, we've got our total height of our block at 3.8 millimeters. Now, 0.6 millimeters of that on either side is dead zone. Not dead zone, but just non-compressible because it's a solid, you know, kind of roof and floor on there. So once we take that 1.2 out, that makes this 2.6 millimeters of compressible space remaining. This can travel 1.4 millimeters-ish. Again, we're doing some real hand-wavy, like, faux science here, but yeah, it's about 1.4 millimeters of travel. Well, I guess that's kind of our answer. If we just take that value, we've got 1.4 millimeters of travel in the normal lattice blocks. We take away approximately 0. Oh boy, my significant digits all over the place here. 7.5 millimeters of that by compressing it with the screws we're left with 0.65 millimeters of travel, which is less than half our original value. So yeah, you can really change how much this bounces just by tightening the screws differently, which might be what you want. This is actually, I mean, in the net, I think this is a good thing that you can do this. When I built my early allocation unit, the screws just went in as far as the screws went in, and there's nothing you could do about that. They barely touched off on the PCB, if memory serves. And so you were getting that full 1.4-ish millimeters of bounce, not flex, bounce, in the assembly. So the fact that you could eat up a little bit and make it stiffer, but not as stiff as the solid blocks, I kind of see that as a win. It is just an interesting change to me why that would be the case. Man, I got like 3 ideas for sound tests for this video. This has now become one of them, which isn't a bad thing. Sound tests are just, other than editing, the longest part of making these videos because I'm very particular about them, and it requires, you know, rebuilding and all that. But this is fascinating that that change was made. Me saying out loud about the sound test was my way of forcing future me to actually do that. So I think probably what the sound test will be is, we'll get to keycaps in a second. I've got GMK or PBT fans, not sure which I'm going to use yet. One of the sound tests will certainly be that. Case foam and no case foam. I've had some friends report a little bit of metallic ringing on aluminum Envoys without it. My early allocation unit was polycarbonate, so I didn't notice anything like that. So I'm intrigued to see that. I've typed on a couple aluminum Envoys and haven't noticed it terribly, so I'm intrigued to see, especially in my configuration with a quite heavy plate and all that. And now I want to do one where I'm screwed in just enough to retain everything, and then screwed in this full, maybe not 0.75, maybe I'll just do one turn to get 0.5 millimeters of compression, which still takes it down to sub 1 millimeter plausible travel distance. So plus 25, yeah. I think that'll be the plan. Doesn't this pen sound fantastic, by the way? This is a Cortex Mark 1 made by Studio Neat. It's Cerakoted and all that. I love these pens. I've got a couple of them in different colors. Okay. Fascinating. That's what I wanted to find out. I had actually kind of been putting off building my Envoys because I'd already built one. And then my friends were talking about these findings with the screw depth and the foam in the chassis. It's like, oh, well, now I really want to build one. As we speak, it is, again, August 15th, 2023. I go to the Novel Keys meetup in 4 days on the other side of the country. So is this what I should be doing right now? No, probably not. But just sending it, you know? Be right back. Okay, let me clean up my science mess here. Barely science. My metrology mess. How about that? And as long as we have it back out of the chassis, that's my preferred way of putting on keycaps, especially with soft mount boards like this. I don't want to mush anything. Let's look at some keycaps. What I might do is put a couple of the GMK set on here and a couple of the PBT fans on here, and then just like drop it in to get the full visual picture. Speaking of the foam, actually I do have the foam kit here. This comes with PE foam, case foam, and I think plate foam maybe? Yeah. So this would be what would go... Alright, come on. Oops, forgot to zoom out. Boop. That's what would go under the PCB. There we go. That would go under the PCB. This would go between the plate and PCB. I'm not really a fan of plate foam almost ever. But I did do the PE foam in my early allocation unit and really liked how it sounded. And it's all a kit. So, yeah. I'm not going to build immediately with either of those. I typically prefer little to no foam in my boards, and I didn't have PE foam planned for this build, so we'll tuck that back in its little cardboard sleeve. And we can look at, oops, it almost looked like keycaps, so let me sort my life out over here. The PBT fan set is Retro Dark Lights, but the transparent version. Retro Dark Lights was not a transparent keycap set. They shipped it to everyone, and there were some streaking and shining issues. So as an apology to everyone who bought that from KBD fans, they sent out this set where the top layer of each keycap, it shows off best with the colorful ones, is slightly transparent. I thought that would look really cool. I won't use these colorful keys in the middle here. I'll stick with grayscale. So that's one option. And we'll be in the sound test regardless of what I pick to build with. What I thought would look really cool is the Mirage is kind of like a businessy gray color, is GMK Thinkcaps, based off the Lenovo ThinkPads, the laptop line. Thought this could also be pretty cool. So what we're gonna start with, I like my idea of putting a little bit of each on, as long as I've got this tray in front of me. I'm mostly worried about like the match or lack thereof with the color of the return key, because it's like similar enough to the Envoy Mirage color. So we'll try a little bit of that. We will do our right side column, page up. Is that the right profile? Yes, it is. I always second guess myself on the profile of the, I guess, row 3. And our page down. And then let's get some alpha keys in here too. Like that. That should be enough to judge the matchiness with the case. Oh, actually, I'll put the space bar in too. I may end up using the black space bar. In fact, I probably will. But this will help me see if it's like, I have this thing with colors where like if it's too close of a match, but not actually a match, I'm kind of bothered by it. So that's where this indecision comes from. I also just haven't used Keycaps in a while. I really like that set. That was one of my like early GMK group buys when I got into their hobby. And this should be pretty easy to tell because these are all basically the same color. We'll throw, oh, I guess actually, no, we'll need to put some alphas in for some transparency to show up. We need step caps. These bottom trays are usually a disaster. Oh, not so bad, actually. Oop, throw that away because I don't bother keeping those. Step caps. Thank you, bottom tray. Shifty shift. And then we'll put in a row of alpha keys. Okay, oh my god, there's BDZ on that keycap. How? It's everywhere. You guys know that meme where it's like my hands look like this so hers can look like this, and it's like someone's like hands working in construction or the oil field or something, and then her hands are like swiping a debit card or something like that. I keep having an idea for that meme where next time I get BDZ like really all over my hands, it'll be like, my hands look like this, so my hands can also look like this, and the dirty one is like covered in BDZ, and the other one is me typing on a board. As I explain it, it's really not that funny, but explaining a joke is like dissecting a frog. You understand it better, but it's dead. So never mind. Actually, I have solved my need to do that. We're not going to bother with the daughter board because this is going to be coming right back out after color checks. Okay, we're gonna zoom you in, and we're just gonna look at a half at a time. So, like, I like the way the gray of the mods looks. Black is, you know, white on black is a classic. I think Thinkcaps could be really good if I just don't do any of the blues, and just do the, you know, black return, black space, or I guess it'd be gray return, sorry. Gray return, gray space, black space. Man, I cannot get this straight. Boy, howdy. Great return, black spacebar. Or we can look at the PBT fans side. And like, obviously this is gonna work, because this is kind of like a dark, we're getting some kind of weird reflections at that angle. There we go. It's just kind of a dark gray scale. Like, that's not gonna be offensive. Although I forgot, we've got the copper on the back here. You know what, seeing it with the copper now, I prefer the PBT fans. But if I like ignore the blue, I really like the way the Dolce Keycaps look. We're gonna build it with Keycaps. We'll start there. Both will be in the sound test. There'll be nice footage of both. But we're gonna go with Keycaps for today's build. Honestly, mostly because I really like Dolce sets, which this is a Dolce set, and I haven't used Keycaps in a while. So selfishly, I just want to use Keycaps. Because it is one of my very favorite sets. It's actually kind of hard to believe how long it's been since I ordered it. I know it was one of my first like 2020 group buys. I think Omnitype was still called Dixie Mac at the time, if memory serves. Oh, it's on my keycap puller. There's BDZ on the keycap puller. That explains everything. Well, some things. Wish it explained everything. That'd be very helpful, actually. Oh my god. Someone needs to come up with a better lubricant for stabs that isn't BDZ. Because it gets absolutely everywhere. Actually, speaking of the NK meetup this coming weekend, one of the talks this year is from Ryan Norbauer, who I met at the NorCal meetup. Lovely to talk to. He's giving a talk about his exploration into stabilizers. I'm very, very keen to hear what he has to say about stabilizers. His like, I don't want to call it engineering, not because I don't want to like give him credit where it's due, but like I'm not sure what he considers what he does as engineering. But like the level of thought and detail he puts into everything he does for this hobby is pretty remarkable. And I feel like the last really like unsolved problem at the moment of Cherry MX mechanical keyboards, and I guess probably Topra if Ryan is paying it this much attention, is like just how bad stabilizers are. Like I feel like that is the final frontier. Like once we repeatedly nail, because it's possible to nail stabilizers. I think I do a pretty good job with them. It's certainly like an attainable thing to have good stabilizers somewhat consistently, but like someone new to the hobby, I think would have a hard time getting stabilizers that they're happy with, that like a fair amount of tutorial watching and tweaking. So if someone can make like a commoditized, like out of the box great stabilizer, that's pretty game changing in my opinion for, I guess accessibility is really what I'm getting at here, like the accessibility of the hobby. If we didn't have to go, well, every time we talk about stabilizers, I feel like that'd be a better place for the hobby to be, and if anyone can get us there, it's probably Ryan Norbauer. Yeah, you know what, I'm going to call it engineering, what he does, even if he wouldn't call it that himself. The engineering work he's done with like his line of enclosures and everything, and the plate, and just Topra in general. One of my local friends talked my ear off a couple meetups back about Topra. Not like he didn't like corner me, I asked, because I was very curious about how all that fits together, the Topra side of the hobby, and it's very different. It's, you know, obviously everything we do as MX enthusiasts, I guess I'll speak for myself, everything I do as MX enthusiasts, as an MX enthusiast, is based on Cherry's work, and Topra was like designed just completely differently. It's really just a completely different platform, which if you know anything about the difference between MX and Topra, you're looking at me going, duh, Ian, that's why they have different names. But for folks who might be a little newer to things, they're so different. Once you put the package together, the outside appearance of it is pretty samey, but really internally couldn't be more different. I'm still very curious to see what Omnitype does with the tooling they purchased from Norbauer. for his Tobra plate designs. I forgot I got an icon mod kit for this. It looks really nice. Oh, can the bottom row not be fully icon? Well, I guess not. That's kind of weird. Well, I guess these aren't icon. Oh, that's strange. Guys, oop, nope, that is the wrong size shift. Yeah, as I'm looking at this, the Dolciness come together here, I'm glad I picked Keycaps. These look great. I think will look great with the Mirage housing. I think it'll be a quite handsome looking set. Let's see here. I'm gonna do the Windows keys because that's funny. Oh, macOS user. We could use this for our function key. But no icons for this. Fair enough. So those we will just do our normal Control-Alt. Oh, and I've got the Think. No. I don't like that. Let's get that out of there. And we'll use the FN key for that. There we go. I like that. And then we'll do black space. Like so. And then I just need to go grab my Rama cap. And we'll do final assembly. Wonderful. All right. And oop, I put in all the keycaps and I can't get to the screw holes. Oh boy. I swear I know what I'm doing. Like 90% of the time. So I'm going to screw these in just till... I guess actually I can screw all the way in and then back off a turn and a half. That actually might be a more consistent way of getting these to like base tension. So that's about a turn and a half. Oop. Come on. Oh, I should have taken out more keys. That's on me. There we go. All right, so I'm gonna all the way down. We're gonna go one turn, half a turn, and that should be about baseline. Yeah, I mean that just pushing those keycaps in. This feels like the amount of bounce I remember from my early allocation unit. Whew, this thing sounds crispy with the copper plate and those copper bottom stem switches. It doesn't sound metallic, which is interesting for how much metal there is in the situation here. Oh, you know what actually might be kind of interesting? I'm just gonna dance my fingers on these while I tighten it down. This is not scientific again in any way. It doesn't immediately seem to feel like there's a difference, or sound like there's a difference, rather. I mean, it definitely has less compression room, that's for sure, but that's to be expected as we are taking part of it up with the screw. Tighten down the side as well. Oh my god, just try to tighten it from between the keycaps. Ah! Okay. There we go. Pretty consistent all the way around though, so yeah, that is seemingly equally compressing all the mounts. Let's back off. Just half a turn actually this time. Let's see what kind of effect that has. right away, I mean, a lot of the flex feels like it's come back. Again, wildly unscientific. I feel like as I approach bottom out on that screw, I feel like I'm hearing more of the case and more of my desk. But just horribly unscientific. So I'll have much more carefully set up sound tests for you to enjoy at the end of this video, with the things I mentioned before, GMK versus PBT fans, just out of general interest, different screw tensions, and with and without the bottom case. Wait, do we hear any ringing, I guess? I don't feel like I'm hearing the chassis, but it's possible that it's there. So I'll keep that sound test in, of course. I love that I can kind of see the copper between the keys. That's really fun. Never had a copper plate before. And you can really see it, even like the camera. The fact that I can see it on like a 6-inch monitor that is like an arm reach and a half away is pretty impressive. We got our little copper stripe on the back there. Copper weight on the bottom. This is pretty substantial. I'm curious to weigh this. Between my early allocation unit being polycarbonate and having the smaller than factory or smaller than production weight, it was a pretty light boy. Okay, there we go. So we are in the universe's unit, grams. .46 kilograms. That's pretty substantial. Certainly more than my early allo unit I'll put on. If I measured my early allocation unit, I can't remember if I did. If I did, I'll put a comparison on screen, or editor Ian will put a comparison on screen here. But this is substantial. Let me grab one of my 65s real quick, see how that compares. Okay, one of my 65s currently has a brass bottom, so that's not fair. The other one is polycarbonate with an aluminum bottom, so not that similar. My Keycult 265 feels like it's about the same mass though, so this is an all aluminum board. Yeah, a little bit heavier, about 200 grams heavier for the Keycult 265, so pretty, in terms of weight, premium feeling with the copper weight and the ALU housing. I really like that. I loved how light my early allo unit was. Made the board feel very portable, like I can throw it in the backpack and kind of take it anywhere. This one still feels quite portable, but definitely feels more substantial than my early allocation unit did. So there you go, gang. Little bit of a follow-up from the original build. And we got another crispy, literally, crispy sounding new build here. Please enjoy the sound tests at the end. Thank you so much for watching. If you've got any questions, leave a comment. If you want to make fun of how tired I am, leave a comment. If you liked the video, please do. If you loved it, subscribe. It's free, and you can unsubscribe the moment you're bored of watching a guy talk about keyboards. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.